Hey folks, Kevin here. Not really feeling much like anyone's favorite right now. I'm a little tired and I've been drinking a little bit. But I was writing down in my handy green book here all kinds of scripts and thoughts for episodes in the future. And I wrote down some thoughts that I'd really like to share tonight. Um, what war taught me about the Constitution versus what war taught me about power. So this little blurb episode, whatever you want to call it, it's really about patriotism without blinders on. Having worn the uniform, having been to war, I've seen what happens when ideals collide with reality. I'm not about tearing the country down. I'm about taking the Constitution seriously, taking power seriously, and being honest about that space between the two. Before I go any further, I want to be clear about something. What I'm sharing tonight, as well as every other night and every other episode, are my own views and reflections, shaped by my experiences in the Marine Corps and by what I personally have seen. My co-hosts, my guests, they don't always see things the same way, and they don't really have to. That's what makes America America. So, my disclaimer, I only speak for myself here, not for them, not for the show as a whole, and not for anyone else who's worn the uniform. I never pretend to do that. So, jumping right into it, I want to start with something simple. Loving your country does not mean lying about it. A lot of people treat patriotism like a performance, whether it's with flags, slogans, bumper stickers, you name it. But patriotism, at least the kind that actually matters, is responsibility. It's asking hard questions, even when they make people uncomfortable. War has a way of stripping away slogans and forcing you to deal with consequences instead. So let's talk about the Constitution. The Constitution is not a description of reality. It's a promise. It's a goal. It tells us who we're trying to be, not who we already are. At its core, it exists to limit power, not to worship it, not to excuse it, but to restrain it. Rights on paper don't mean much if you can't actually use them. Freedom of speech doesn't mean much without education. The right to vote doesn't mean much if people don't understand what they're voting on. And the oath we swear isn't to a flag or a leader, it's to principles. Here's what war taught me very quickly. Power, it doesn't behave morally by default. Power values results over ideals. Decisions are often made far away from the people who will live with the consequences. And the farther you get from those consequences, the weaker accountability becomes. It's not because everyone in power is evil. It's because systems reward outcomes, not ethics. Bureaucracy can cause enormous harm without anyone ever feeling personally responsible for it. And this is where the difference between patriotism and nationalism really matters. Patriotism asks, are we living up to our values? Nationalism says, we're already at the best, so stop asking questions. One strengthens our democracy, the other weakens it. One invites criticism, the other treats criticism like betrayal. War makes that difference very clear. Being a Marine shaped how I see authority. Rank, it doesn't equal wisdom. I think most who served can attest to that. Titles don't guarantee competence. Bad leadership doesn't just hurt morale, it costs lives. And sometimes questioning authority isn't disloyal. Sometimes it's the most ethical thing you can do. Discipline matters, but blind obedience is absolutely dangerous. Being wounded in combat adds another layer to all of this for me. Sacrifice is real, but it's often repurposed after the fact. Injuries complicate the clean stories people like to tell about war. Gratitude, it's nice, but it isn't the same thing as understanding. A lot of veterans are often celebrated right up until they say something uncomfortable. And this is where my politics come into it. Rights without access are theoretical. freedom means very little without healthcare, education, and housing. Collective responsibility is not un-American. Concentrated wealth and concentrated power undermine democracy in the same way by putting decisions into fewer and fewer hands. Unchecked power, whether political or economic, always drifts away from accountability. Service, it doesn't end your responsibility as a citizen. Silence isn't respect. Criticism is not disloyalty. If anything, criticism is ownership. Democracy doesn't survive on reverence, it survives on participation. Voting is the starting line, not the finish line. So here's the truth I've landed on. The Constitution shows us who we want to be. War, it shows us who we actually are. Patriotism without blindness means holding both of those things at the same time. It means loving your country enough to demand better from it. Because blind loyalty, it doesn't serve the people, it serves power. And that's something worth sitting with. Thanks for listening.